As long as you keep going up to girls, telling them how cute they are and how beautiful they are, you will always suck. You will never, ever get better. It's a harsh truth. It's a harsh pill to swallow. Tons of people might disagree, but I'll tell you why it's true. I will explain exactly why. As a budding pickup artist, which you're learning to be, and I'm practicing pickup artist, right? We figure that in such a group, in such a lane, that there would not be any dogma. We assume that the regular world, the outside world, is where the dogma lies. It's very dogmatic. If you don't know what dogma is popular beliefs, worldviews, viewpoints that are accepted by people without being checked, without being certified to be certain, 100% right, or right in enough context, right? Like the adage, go to school, get a good job, and stack your 401k for retirement, right? Without taking into account that the world has changed. The nature of getting jobs has changed. What is valuable and not valuable for a degree has changed. Access to work, being able to create your own work in your own schedule through technology, right? All of these things have changed the landscape to the point where giving rote advice does not actually help anybody. It doesn't work, right? We've moved past that. We're done with that, right? And you can inherit dogma from family, friends, and environment, the information that you consume. It's all around you. As a thinking person, as a thinking man, you have to parse through everything that you're given. In the pickup community, you would think it would be different, that it's no different. It's exactly the same. Dogma exists everywhere, including in fringe communities like the pickup artist community. We have this big dogma. It's a huge, massive thing that sits right in the middle over here. When people start getting the wheels turning, start taking action, right? We call it approaching or opening direct. It's a big, huge, stinking pile of dogma that stands in everyone's way and blocks the way when you start to want to get better. People think, guys who approach, guys who are aspiring pickup artists, think that this idea will help them in the long run. When in reality, after a certain point, it needs to be dropped. It needs to be left alone. It needs to be left to die. The reason we have this is because, like every other community, the pickup artist community is filled with human beings who are lazy, who do not want to think, who do not want to stretch their mind and expand, who do not want to try new things and experiment in the way that they should, and are stuck doing things that everyone else is doing because they're getting that validation. This guy is saying it, and that guy is saying it, and this person's saying it. And so there's a kind of group collective consciousness that they subscribe to, that they think just because you hear voices bouncing this idea, that it's the right idea. But it's not, right? It's actually, up to a certain point, it's okay. Past a certain point, it's actually extremely detrimental to your progress. Now, here's why. There's three main reasons why. The first reason is that a lot of guys think that for some reason, whatever the reason is, they think that exchanging a compliment with a girl very early on is a nice substitute for actually being able to flirt. I am sorry to burst your bubble. Complimenting is not flirting. Complimenting is complimenting. That's not flirting. Kissing her ass and telling her how beautiful she is not flirting. A lot of guys think it is. And a lot of guys think, well, if I say this at the beginning, right up front, then she knows why I'm there. And everything should work out. And everything should go perfectly. And we've just set the tone for the rest of the interaction. But that's not what happens. What actually happens, what actually goes wrong, is that you kiss ass. That's what it is. That's what it sounds like. The only thing you do when you go up and tell her how cute she is, you just had to stop and say something, how beautiful she is, that you had to come over and say hi. You're giving validation. Not horrible, right? But it does nothing to inspire her to talk to you any further. You're giving validation. And a lot of times girls will take that validation, say thank you very much, and go. And there'll be nothing after that. Nothing. Because you're just giving validation. There's no need for any exchange. You have to remember, you're a stranger. She doesn't know you from a hole in the wall. You have no social context. Instead of risking things going bad, she just takes the compliment and goes. By doing that, you're over-validating. And you're validating at the wrong time, really. The only thing you're good for when you do that is a compliment. And again, complimenting is not flirting. Those are two different things. Completely. The second point, which is very, very, very important for guys to understand, to wrap around this cranium, this thing over here, right? To use this. I'm going to crack this thing open. The second point is that every direct opener communicates the same message, which is, I like you, even though I know nothing about you. In parentheses. Do you like me, even though you know nothing about me? It doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter how you say it. Every direct opener communicates that. Every single one. So now you have to think, well, if every direct opener communicates that, what is that doing? Good question. What it's doing is you're forcing her to make a on-the-spot, split-second decision about whether she likes you. But here's the worst part, if that doesn't already sound bad. She doesn't know you. She has no sample of your personality to go off of. She has nothing to go off of, right? You haven't given her enough. So 9 times out of 10, she will say thank you, but no thank you. She has nothing to go off of. She has no information to sift through. You haven't given her a slice or a sample that is sufficient for her to make a judgment on. So she's always going to say no, or more often than not, no. Why would you do that? Why would you shoot yourself in the foot? A lot of guys don't know they're shooting themselves in the foot, but they are. And it's very, very detrimental. Extremely. It's horrible. The third reason is because you want your interactions to start off at the lowest possible entry level and end on a high note, to end as strong as possible. Because most of the guys, they do not know how to run a set well, they do not know how to flirt, and they don't understand that you want to end on a high note. When you open with a strong, powerful, provocative compliment, and that's the strongest thing you say in the interaction, and the rest of the interaction is about puppy dogs and fairy tales and butterflies and rainbows, what happens to the interaction? It feels like it's getting weaker. It feels like as she spends time with you, things are getting worse. It's getting more damp. There's no more spark in there. And again, if you do not know how to flirt or run a set correctly, that's what happens. So that happens to a lot of guys. This is why you get the phenomenon where, and I'll mention why, but describing it first, where a guy will, again, using direct openers, a guy will open, spend 15 minutes or 10 minutes talking to a girl, get a number, get a flake, right? She won't answer him at all. The guy will open a different girl, right? Same type of girl, spend 1 to 2 minutes talking, get a number, and she'll text back. The shorter interaction will text back. And guys will be like, holy crap, I spent all this time in set, and then the girl that I didn't spend time with texted me back. There's no need to spend time in interactions. Wrong. Completely wrong. Because you're missing a fundamental point here. Because you don't know how to flirt and run an interaction well, when you start on a high note and you cannot maintain the set gets worse over time. So you start on a high note, you end on a low note, and on a low note is when you get her contact. And you expect her to call you back or text you back off of the low note. She's not. Because it started good and got worse. In her mind, put yourself in her shoes. Put yourself in her shoes. Well, it started decent and it kind of got worse. What do you think's going to happen when she meets up with you? Start high again and get even worse. It's not rocket science. But for the short interaction, starts on a high note, you only stay there for a minute or two. It still ends on a high note. That's the secret. That's what you're missing. That's what a lot of guys don't know. So when you get you open direct in both cases, you get a really quick phone number, she'd still text back because you ended on a high note. You ended with intrigue. You ended with interest. Right? You didn't end it when the interaction was flat. And so she's eager to see you still. It's something a lot of guys miss this point. A lot of guys miss this point. Right? So if we can understand that, the 3 reasons. 1, it's over-validating and it's not flirting. 2, you forcing her to make a split-second decision means she will say no most of the time. And 3, you're starting on too high of a note. You start lower and end high all the time, every single time you can. Every single time you can. those will inspire you to not go direct. The only point where I just mentioned you should go direct is if you're doing a really, really quick set. You're jumping in and out because you start on a high note and you leave on a high note. So it allows you to maintain that intrigue and that interest. And she'll want to see what else comes after that. So you might be asking yourself, okay, so I don't do direct like everyone else. What am I supposed to do? Well, let's look at it in terms of environments. We have two types of environments. Social environments, bars, clubs, day parties, night parties, anything where people go to for the purpose of socializing with people they know and people they don't know, right? That's a social environment. Like soirees, mixers, all that is social. We have non-social environments. Train stations, coffee shops, bus stations, malls, right? People go there to do things other than socialize with other people. The street, museums, right? Non-social environments. In social environments, either a neutral opener, which is more ambiguous compliment. It's not a compliment per se. It's a very ambiguous statement. Maybe you compliment her dress, her scarf, her hair. You have an interesting look. You have an interesting style. You have an interesting vibe. You seem interesting. Very neutral, very ambiguous, very murky. If you can come up with anything like that as a neutral opener, that is great. That is excellent. You're giving some, but you're not giving so much. And there's still intrigue in there. Or one of the best, if not the best, is situational openers. So you're using something she's given you, obviously something she's wearing, something that happens in the environment that you and her witness, that you and her are part of, to ping off of, right? If you're in Starbucks and someone looks drunk on the line ahead of you, right? Like she's in line either ahead or right in back of you, and there's someone online who looks drunk, and you turn around and you make a really snide comment about that, right? That's a situational opener. Or you're in the grocery, you see her looking between two bunches of carrots, and you say, hey, don't think too hard. It's only the fate of the dinner party in your hands, you know? Something like that, right? Or if you're at a train station, you're waiting for the train for a little while, and you ask her, hey, quick question. You think I would get to the city quicker if I ran as fast as I could? Would I be faster than this train getting here? Right? Something kind of silly. Obviously, always playful. You're starting on a playful note. Something like that, where you're playing off the situation around you to hopefully build that into a conversation. And the good thing about neutral and situational openers, you can also take them into non-social situations, non-social environments. So you can use it at the bookstore, the cafe, the mall, wherever your imagination would take you, you can use that there. We also use indirect openers. So asking anything, asking for advice, asking for help, asking for an opinion. All of those are great. And you can use those to start and then branch into a neutral opener, right? So you will ask for, hey, quick question. You look like you know all this stuff. Hey, any good pizzerias out around here? You look like a cheese expert. So, and then you say, oh, you kind of have an interesting look. Where are you from? Something like that, right? You kind of branch into the rest of the conversation. Situational is really, really good. Situational opening, it requires thinking on the fly. It requires recognizing what's going on around you, the context. It requires getting used to patterns, right? Because you'll say things that you realize can fit in other situations that are similar but not exactly the same. And you use those. You want to get good at using this. A lot of guys get stuck opening direct because they don't want to use their brain to have to think of an opener to say. I have to tell you, if you want to get really good, you got to use your brain. You can't be afraid to use your brain. You must use this thing. There's no way around it. There's no way around it. Opening should be dynamic. It should be fresh. It should be energetic. It should have that punch, that spark. Regurgitating something half-assed is not going to do that. If you have to think, you have to think. You will get rewarded for that. I promise you. I guarantee you. From one pickup artist to the next. I promise you. You will get rewarded for using your brain. Guarantee. So, in looking over the options to use, situational is absolutely, learn that. Make sure you learn that. Neutral, make sure you learn that. Indirect, for non-social environments, make sure you learn that as well. Very, very great. I found all of those to work well. And they're all worth practicing, all worth mastering. You just have to overcome the laziness, right? The dogmatic thinking that ties so many of us down. You get out there and you get your hands dirty, right? That's what it's about. That's what you're here for. To experiment and learn and grow if you actually want to get better. So, there you have 3 reasons to not open direct. Besides laziness and dogma, right? One situation where you can open direct, and other things to use so that you do not have to resort to that. It does take practice. It does take unlearning it if you've already learned to open direct and you lean on it. But it's worth unlearning and relearning something else, because you'll become better for it and you'll be thankful for it. So, give you blessings. Go out there and you practice, and you will be a better pickup artist. Comment below on your travels and practices. I want to hear what you've done with it, what you've learned from this video, and how you've put it into practice. So feel free to comment.